What's up, everyone? Thanks for joining for today's weekly recap session. So today I'm going to quickly cover my week's performance and evaluate some of the mistakes that I made and understand where I've gone wrong, and then have a trading plan for the next week. But before I do that, I wanted to quickly cover my September's stats very quickly. There are some key areas which I've been paying closer attention to as a reflection, and I think that you might find them useful. I use Tradervue to upload my trades, and that gives me access to a whole bunch of information which I don't always use, but I have been looking at them a bit closer this weekend. I am on the gold plan with Tradervue, so if you're on the basic plan, you might not have access to all this additional information. But in case you don't, I share them here anyway, and then you can assess whether it's something that you need or you might find useful going forward. So I've got my September's stats available up here on the screen share. You can see my total gain was $153, so it's positive, which is great. And my accuracy was at 52%. I did take a total of 353 trades. I felt on reflection when I did my monthly reflection that that was too many trades for the month of September. So my aim for this month is to reduce that number of trades. And accuracy, of course, that was great, 52.7%. So it was a higher accuracy. The aim is to get up to 60 and even more if possible. Of course, it all comes down to discipline. And then looking at my average trade, winning trades, and average losing trade, that was really good. That was the positive value. So it was almost it's pretty much 1-to-1, which is good. Now, why does this matter? Why does profit to loss ratio matter? So profit to loss ratio tells you how big your average win was in compared to your average loss, but it also highlights the quality of the trades that you've been taking. So, for example, this week, I know that I've taken some good quality trades, but unfortunately, it's not reflected in the profit and loss ratio because I didn't hold my winners longer. So that's why it's important to pay close attention to this figure, which is your average wins versus your average losers, because although you might end up in a situation where you'll have one or two good trades that are really big wins, and they'll tilt the needle more towards a higher profit to loss ratio, but over time, over let's say a period of a month, it gives you an overview of where you are with regards to your trade quality. So I think all in all, paying attention to this, I didn't pay attention to this when I was reviewing the stats, and it's a really good result for me in comparison to where I've come from in the previous months. And of course, the accuracy is on a positive side in the sense that it's higher. And what you got to also bear in mind is that you could have a much lower accuracy, but as long as you've got a high profit to loss ratio, you could still end up being green. So it's a balance that you need to achieve, but you might also end up in a situation where your accuracy is lower because you're cutting your positions a lot quicker, and therefore you're ending up with more losers. But then if you do get into a winning trade, if you hang on to them for longer, then you end up with a better profit to loss ratio, which is also good, and it means that you could end up being in a profitable situation. But the other thing that I wanted to look at, which is something I didn't pay attention to closely, was the profit factor, because I think I was conflating profit factor with profit to loss ratio. And then after closely looking at it a bit more, so profit factor tells you how much is the total money you make compared to how much money you lose. But what it also further highlights is the strategy performance, whereas the profit to loss ratio really focuses on what your trade quality is, or the quality of the trades that you're taking. The profit factor looks at your overall strategy and measures this performance. So that's something that I've been trying to look at more closely, which is quite interesting to understand. So what we are really aiming for is a profit factor which is greater than 1. And if you've got a profit factor of 1, that means you're more or less break even. And for me to sort of say that, okay, well, it's more than 1, that's a really big positive thing. And I feel like on reflection, I should have coming into this month, bearing this in mind and taking it really seriously, everything that I've done in the month of September, and just made minor tweaks. Of course, I have made some big mistakes this first couple of weeks of October, but it's fine. You know, I've got something to build on, and those mistakes can be ironed out. And one other area that I wanted to look at is the K ratio. So this was really interesting. I'd been ignoring this until I started digging into it and looked it up a bit further, and also looked it up on ChatGPT to try to get a better understanding of what that does. So so the K ratio really looks at how steadily your trading strategy is making money. So I've got some figures here which I want to read. So if you've got a K ratio of less than 0, then of course you're losing money, and that's exactly where I am this month. Anything between 0.5 to 1 is decent performance, but it means there's some volatility. So anything between 1 to 2 is strong, steady performance. Of course, this is based on what ChatGPT has given me. I haven't independently verified that from different sources, but I'm just going on face value, and I'm just looking at it as a first step on better understanding how that K ratio is calculated. There is a bit of a complex mathematical equation behind it, which looks at curvature of your profits and so on, but I'm not going to go into that because I don't fully understand it myself yet. And it says anything that's above 2, it means you've got an excellent and very consistent equity growth. So bearing in mind the K ratio, the profit factor, my profit to loss ratio, and my profit to loss ratio in terms of my average winning trades versus my average losing trades, I think September was an excellent month for me in comparison to all the other months and all the other inconsistencies that I had. And I mean, like, this really excited me in terms of where I've been, where I have got to in terms of my trading career I suppose you can really say from February this year that I really started properly trading, because I was away most all of January, so I stopped trading, and I was just looking at charts, and then I tried to put some money behind it in February. But again, I feel like I rushed into it because I felt like I had something solid, and I put a lot of money behind it instead of taking the approach that I'm taking now and actually being patient and testing it. It's because I was getting a lot of FOMO and I wanted to get out there. So it meant that I had a big drawdown, and I really put myself under pressure in terms of losing that money up front right at the outset. And this is something that a lot of people, and especially Ross, warns against. But of course, when you have people like me who are stubborn, and they think they know best, you end up in a situation like this. So starting there, and then having to heal from those losses, and then realizing that I need to take a step back, I feel like where I am now in September, what I achieved in September was a big monumental step for me in the right direction. Of course, I've made mistakes in the last couple of weeks, but that's fine. I'm completely positive about it, and it's moving forward that counts. So I'm writing everything off from September, before September, and I'm starting fresh from that month, because September was a month that I decided that this needs to be a turning point for me. So we've got to take these small wins where we can. And a good friend of mine said to me that in a conversation that I was having, who himself is a successful trader now, he said that just focus on your strategy and your stats, and your recovery will happen at tenfolds when you get your strategy right. So, and that's what I have been doing now, and that's the focus. So anyway, I thought I hope you found that interesting. But bear with me whilst I get my board set up so we can start looking at my weekly stats for this week. So this week, where are we this week? So I've taken snapshots here anyway. So of course I'm down this week $195 because of a mistake I made on Tuesday. and we'll go into that a bit more detail. Oh, actually, hold on. Not sharing me. There we go. So where are we this month? So 195. This week, $195 in the red because of a mistake I made on Tuesday, which I will dig into a bit more in a moment. And overall, my accuracy this week has been the highest since I suppose I started this new period of my trading in September. So 55.4%. And it could have been a lot higher, I think, if it hadn't been if it wasn't because of Tuesday and Monday where I technically overtraded. But we'll look at those stats a bit more in detail. Of course, talking about profit factor and my K ratio, you can see that's negative. The obvious reason for that is because of my P&L, where I am for the week. And my average hold time for my winning trades and losing trades is half a minute, which is good. Again, look, these are improvements that I've made over the months where, you couldn't, I used to hold my losers and I don't do that anymore. Now, what I need to focus on is getting this average winning trades, holding the average winners longer than the losers, where I'm now cutting down my trades very quickly, getting in and out. I just need to now have the confidence to hold those winners a bit longer. I took 83 trades this week, which is good, much better, reducing the number of trades, focusing on quality. And all in all, I think there are definitely some positive takeaways, especially if you look at this, where I had 16 consecutive wins and only 8 consecutive losses. And again, I think that was on Tuesday, where we'll look at that again. That was the reason I had 8 consecutive losses. But 16 wins, that's pretty good. So how does the week look like? So I had one red day for the entire week. I think on net on the 10th, which was a Friday, I'm probably down 50 cents. So technically it is a red day, but overall, in terms of the strategy itself, okay, so you could say it's a green, but I guess you could also argue that I should have not taken that many trades. But at the same time, I limited my losses. I felt that it wasn't going to be a great day. I started with, I didn't feel like I started with very small quarter share sizes, and I sort of stayed within that small share size, sized up a couple of times to 20 shares, which was my full size, but I pretty much kept going back to 5 or 10 shares because I just felt like things were not connecting. The momentum wasn't perhaps there, and I wasn't taking good quality trades to begin with. So it's recognizing these situations that I'm in, or the state that I'm in, that helps me keep these days from being a total red day like I experienced on Tuesday. But otherwise, if you just have a quick look at the stats very quickly, just as a whole, let's just have a look. So if I look at the calendar view of this week, so let's have a look at Thursday. Thursday was just an amazing day for me in terms of accuracy, 100% accuracy. 14 trades I took on Thursday, and as you can see, I stuck to my share size. So you need to divide this by 2. That gives you the total volume of trades, so in and out. So 5 shares, 5 shares, 5 shares, 20 shares, 10 shares. So you can see I've stuck to my trading plan, which is 5, 10, and 20. 20 being my maximum, and all green. And across the morning, 3 different stocks: BAOS, BDRX, and BJDX. Again, I think on reflection, this should have been high more, and my average winners should have been a lot higher. But I'm just, it was just amazing. If you haven't watched the recording of this Thursday's recap, it was a live. I recorded those trades, so I did a live recap. I encourage you to go and watch it because you can see where I anticipated breakouts. And it's been good for me because I've been watching it a couple of times just to reinforce those behaviors, those areas that I need to focus on. I give it a bit more commentary, so hopefully you've learned something from it. But yeah, it was an excellent day for me. And then let's look at Friday as well. Accuracy was 57%. I feel like I overtraded, but as you can see, I stuck with 5 shares, small share sizes. And I think here I went up to 20 shares, but otherwise it was 10 shares, 5 shares, 20 shares here. And yeah, sort of increasing, reducing. And that's been working nicely in some ways, because it's sort of, every time you're going back in the market, you're trying to find signs or behaviors or patterns where it tips that that needle in your favor. And by varying the share sizes for my entries, I feel that I've mitigated the risk of being those losses increasing. So, for example, here I went in with 5 shares. I locked in 85 cents. Then here I lost $1.70. But if I'd gone in with a higher share amount, then maybe that would have been a $3 loss, right? So whereas I guess here, where I had the conviction that I could size up, it felt that maybe the move was the right move. So yeah, so it's been working nice. Again, it's there is an element of chance here, of course, but you have to look at these trades closer and understand why perhaps I took some of those trades. All right, so let's carry on. Where are we? Calendar quickly. Oh, here we go. And then let's look at Tuesday, the mistakes that I made on Tuesday. So on Tuesday, I went from green to red, and that triggered me. I didn't walk away. I kept trading, and the signs were there. The writing was on the wall. I chose not to accept defeat, and then I sized up. I went from 20 shares to 130 shares, and various amounts. And yeah, the writing was on the wall. And look at that, 250 shares, 500 shares. I was looking probably for a Hail Mary here. And that was it. This was a tipping point, right? This was a tipping point where that really triggered me, and recognizing to draw the line here after the second or maybe third losing trade. Just say, yeah, admit defeat. This was way within my max loss. So that was the problem on Tuesday. So on reflection, what do we think? 83 trades, 55.4% accuracy. So what did I like about this week? High accuracy, and starting with smaller share size, which I showed you in the stats. Focused on fewer trades. Enjoyed the trades that I took. I really did, especially the last few days. I'll show you what I need to be aiming for in a moment, because yeah, I'll show you what I mean. What did I learn? So take responsibility and recognize behaviors that hold me back. And what I mean by that is this area here. And some of you could probably relate to this, and maybe you could do a similar reflection and learn from this and take something away. And maybe together we can defeat these bad behaviors that we present in us in the most dire situations where you are making there's a turning point and you're making headway, and you set yourself back in this way. So this is exactly what I'm talking about, taking responsibility and recognizing these behaviors that hold me back. Understand when being emotionally triggered, especially on green to red moves. So again, talking about this, being emotionally triggered when I go from being green to giving back quite a lot of the profit, and I'm going into red, being triggered, like recognizing that and taking a step back and looking at the bigger picture. And if I'd just taken a step back and looked at a bigger picture, that day could have just been a $3 win, right? A bit like Friday. It could have been a $2 win, or even a small red day, and I still could have ended the week green. As my stats would have been a lot better this week, and I would have had a positive overall standing for the week rather than forcing it. So really key items here for me to focus on. And then what did I lack this week? So on a big red day, I lacked the self-awareness and ability to step away, which is something we talked about. And didn't my and something else which I lacked this week was I didn't hold my winners longer. And I guess some of it stems from the fact that I was coming in from that big red day on Monday and on Tuesday, and that has a knock-on effect. But arguably, I still traded really well, and I took smaller smaller trades on Tuesday. Only took 2 trades. Went in with 5 shares. Really good move there. Was able to capture that, and went in with 20 shares. Two trades. Of course, 100% accuracy. And I suppose I recovered from it well, but it still was affecting. I was just getting frustrated with the fact that I wasn't able to hold my winners longer. And if you look at my trades that I recorded for Tuesday, where I took 14 trades and I had 100% accuracy, you can see where I sold. It's just painful to watch when you can see I sold too quickly. But then there are a couple of trades where I sold very quickly, and they were just a quick scalp and quick. The stock went up, and then I'd sold, and it quickly reversed. So it did definitely save my skin in some of those trades, but majority of them I could have definitely held for longer. So what did I long for? It's that awareness to walk away and admit that I was trading out of frustration. It really, I think that's going to be my biggest challenge in the coming weeks and in the coming months, to have that self-awareness. And maybe I could do more meditation, perhaps, to help me, to aid me with that. And just knowing that you're frustrated, you're triggered, I think that's such an important area to focus on. So action items for this week. So again, the focus will be on accuracy and profit to loss ratio, and then holding those winners longer. I guess holding the winners longer and aim to get out at break even or small profit, which then directly feeds into my profit to loss ratio. The profit to loss ratio can be a double-edged sword, because in order for you to have a higher profit to loss ratio, of course, in some of the trades I took this week, you could see that clearly being visible, and I could have easily done that. But it could also work against you, because it does mean that you're allowing the market to prove itself even more. So a winning trade could easily turn into a losing trade. And we've seen that happen this past week, especially with some of the big losses that Ross, for example, has sustained, where he just held it for too long, and although he was up, then he took a massive loss. And that's unfortunate. But of course, his overall strategy and his performance is working fine. So that can definitely be a double-edged sword. And then the other area that I think I need to perhaps focus on is that frustration. So meditation and understanding and accepting when I'm frustrated. Can't spell. So those are the areas that I'm going to focus on this week. But yeah, so that's my overall reflection for this week. But something I wanted to share with you, which this is what I want to aim for. This is the goal, right? This is where I want to be. So what I've done is I've only selected the last 3 days that I've been trading. Okay. Of course, this is a very small window, but this is what I want to be focusing on, because when I then click on detailed view and look at the stats, I mean, this is exactly where I want to be, right? Accuracy of 80%. Of course, can be unrealistic over a month. But if I aim for that high accuracy, then even if I fall short, I'd still be aiming for 60 to 70%, I hope. And the profit factor, 4.05. So let's look at profit factors. Anything obviously above 1 is good. And this really measures your strategy performance. 4 is great. And a K ratio of 1.68, it's getting above 2. So it's a strong, steady strategy. And don't forget, the K ratio looks at how steadily is the trading strategy making money. So we're aiming for the higher value. But overall, it looks great. The only area that does stand out is my profit to loss ratio. So that is a negative profit to loss ratio. But if you watch my Thursday video, you see where I'll leave a link in the description below. You see where I went wrong. So those are the areas I need to focus on. Anyway, we're making small incremental steps forward. That's the aim here. That's the goal here. Small incremental steps. And I think I was talking to one of my friends, and we spent about an hour talking on the phone the other night. And I guess the concern here is obviously I'm in a drawdown at the moment overall, but that was mistakes that I've made, and I feel that on reflection, I'm making progress forward. Yes, you'll take a step forward, and then you might take a couple of steps forward, and then you might take a step backwards. But the point is, it's just not a overnight. You can't reach a resolution overnight. It's a long-term goal. It's a marathon. So I've said to him, like, my focus is going to be on accuracy, and I'm putting myself out here to hold myself accountable for my trades. So we talked about some dates where I need to reflect and see where I'm going with the trading and so on. But of course, I don't want to put myself under pressure just to hold myself accountable to some arbitrary date in the future. But it does mean that I have to take things seriously, right? And it's not a game anymore. It's something that could like drastically change your life for the better. And I think, and that is exactly why a lot of you are here as well, and a lot of you are trading. I hope you've been able to learn something from today's recap on the week's stats. And let's just see what the new next week has in stock for us. It's going to be a short week for me, only 2 days of trading, so I won't do a recap on the weekend either, because obviously it will just be 2 days, and then we'll see what the following week will hold for us. But yeah, got a couple of days of trading to see what we've got in stock, what the market's got in stock for us. Of course, with Trump's news on the China tariffs, we'll have to look at the Nasdaq and the futures and see what they are doing. But it might have an impact on the overall volume coming in on Monday and Tuesday. But we'll see. There might be some opportunities there, but it might be no trade day. Anyway, enjoy the rest of your weekend, and thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment. I really appreciate all the support, and I'll catch you guys next week.